morning. Thank y'all for being here. We're live. We can say good morning.
Good morning.
Amen.
Arnold.
No, thank you all so much for being here. And this is really a great day for the city of New Orleans, and more importantly, for the children and families in our community. You know, when we design a city, in the city of New Orleans, that truly puts the interests of children first, we create a city that cares for all of her people, all. Equity and empathy are key. And as I tell my people, that spirit of empathy is the ability to meet people where they are. And what we're talking about this morning is being able to meet our children where they are, so that in turn they will be put on a path to reach their fullest potential in society. And through equity and empathy, again, they are key as it relates to advocacy and also inclusion, which can elevate the voices that we know are needed to be heard, build consensus, as well as, again, allows our people to reach their fullest potential and their goals and to accomplish what they set out to in life. With our Office of Youth and Families, that was one of the executive orders I placed and put in place as mayor of the city of New Orleans. And I just want to thank them for their work, again, putting children first. We're here to congratulate Team Empower NOLA, the 2020 Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Clinical Scholars New Orleans cohort, receiving $435,000 over the span of a 3-year period. That is a huge accomplishment. And absolutely, who's standing here with me today, have made this possible in partnership with our New Orleans City Council, and also, as I mentioned, my administration and through the Mayor's Office of Youth and Families. I am no stranger at all to trauma, personally, but more importantly, to the trauma that I know that the children in our community are experiencing on a daily basis. Many of us even remember that documentary, The Children of Central City. That was some time ago. But you know what? Trauma carries on. And it carries on right in the heart of our community, through our children, in our homes, every single day. I recently sat down with many of our young people associated with the Anthony Bean Theater. They had a camp. And listening to our children, and from their mouths that bubbled up through their own experiences about how they're faced with trauma, that has it's been more impacted during this pandemic of COVID-19 in ways even that I didn't even realize. So just think about. So whether it was them having to spend a little bit more time by someone's house that they may not have felt comfortable with, or subjected to abuses that they didn't know that they would have been subjected to, or didn't realize that a parent had an issue with alcohol abuse because they were out of the house a little bit longer. Because that's what school does. When you're in school, you're out in that classroom and also attached to extracurricular activities, which are so important. Youth and families have been, again, a top priority in my administration, and they will continue to be. First of its kind, even as we talked about feeding our children during this pandemic, got $18 million mass feeding program approved by FEMA, and they just re-upped on yesterday for another 30 days. I'm saying it because it's not just about talk. It has to be rooted in action and delivering to our children and our families. Ensure that our kids and families even had laptop computers and the technology needed to have and really be engaged in remote instruction. Pre-K through 4th grade being a priority, getting public school students back into that classroom. And our 5th through 12th graders will be onboarded starting October the 12th. Trauma-informed care begins before even children are born. And that means how we're putting, again, families and those mothers and those parents first. The New Orleans Health Department has been a strong advocate and supporter as it relates to this work, meeting the needs of our maternal health and looking at maternal health outcomes, and particularly Black women. Black women who seem to not get the care just because of their skin color. And we found that that is rooted, again, in our community. But if we're focused on it and we're intentional about it, we're able to elevate the outcomes in a positive way, again, that uplifts our mothers, uplifts our children, and at the end of the day, uplifts our families. The Office of Youth and Family, we created this Her NOLA platform that really speaks to these disparity gaps. But again, meeting our families where they are, our women, and making sure that they're getting the care that they deserve. Also, in July, we had one of our latest cohorts. We have the Parent Leadership Training Institute, which has been phenomenal, working with our parents, giving them the confidence that they need to advocate not only for their children, but understanding that when they advocate for theirs, you're advocating for all, and it's something that we have to do. This is a community responsibility. Also, I'm going to go ahead on and say that we doubled down on our investment in early childhood education. Again, a testament to our commitment. We went from 1.5, made that increase to about 3 million. Earlier in the year, there was a little bit of conflict around where the money would come from, given the fact that we're carrying a deficit. And I said to the community, don't sweat it, that the administration will find the resources necessary to meet that need fully. And that's exactly what my CAO and my CFO and we did. And that was doubling down on our efforts to get our fair share, get any dollar that's been sitting out there untapped, but that belongs to the city of New Orleans. You cannot do any of this alone. And that really does speak to the partners that I have standing right with me here this morning. Now, I'm going to introduce a man that is no stranger, again, to trauma, but is no stranger to meeting the needs of our children who are living with special needs and also enduring trauma on a daily basis. He's been there. He's also been there unwavering in this pandemic that we've been going through, on the front line every single day, and making sure that he is rendering the best care possible, and even telling me, Mayor, yep, take care of yourself too. Make sure you're wearing that mask, absolutely. The social distancing, yes, ma'am, hey, it works. And so he keeps me straight. But even still, Dr. Scholas keeps me straight on the Sewage and Water Board. He's one of my directors there. And you know what? He is so focused even on, of course, the infrastructure related to the Sewage and Water Board, but even the quality of the water in the system, because at the end of the day, that matters too. And we will not be a flint. We want to hit it head on and make sure that in every aspect that we're doing the right thing for our families and for our children. And I just appreciate him in his capacity that I've been able to experience his leadership and his dedication to this city, and more importantly to children. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Maurice Scholas, the principal of Scholas Medical Consulting, LLC, and standing with him to empower NOLA. Dr. Scholas, come on up and you can take it from here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Maurice Scholas, and I am the principal of Scholas Medical Consulting. I'm also a practicing physician in our community, and I believe to be a good physician, you have to be a good community member as well. So service starts at home, and service continues through the patients I care for and the people I serve. Robert Wood Johnson has really stepped up and recognized what's possible in our city. And I'm proud that they have given us the resources to act out a dream that we all have, not just as providers, but as members of a community that want to see our community thrive and do well. So my first order is to thank the mayor for having us and hosting us, and to thank Robert Wood Johnson for making these dreams possible. Please allow me briefly to lay out how Team Empower NOLA came to be. It started with research conducted by the Institute for Women and Ethnic Studies. That was a task force cited by the city of New Orleans, where they surveyed 5,000 youth between 2012 and 2018. And when they surveyed these youth, they found something startling. 1 in 5 had witnessed a murder. 1 in 3 had witnessed domestic violence. 4 in 10 had seen someone shot, stabbed, or beaten, and more than half had someone close to them murdered. Our children are living with trauma. As a result, in August 2018, the New Orleans City Council adopted a resolution which was authored by council members J.H. Banks, Helene Moreno, and Jason Williams, which led to the creation of the Childhood Trauma Task Force. This task force was chaired by Dr. Torrance Sanders and Dr. Denise Shervington, and they developed a comprehensive plan to reduce the occurrence and impact of trauma on children. This resulted in a 212-page mayoral report that was published in January of 2020 this year. It was entitled Call to Care, Promoting Compassionate Healing for Our Children. And in 2 of those recommendations, they really stood out to me and my colleagues. Number 1 was recommendation 4 that called for an increasing awareness, knowledge, and skill of the clinical and peer workforce caring for children dealing with trauma. What does that mean? We need to make sure the professionals that are dealing with our children know how to be culturally competent, talk to and reach them. The second recommendation that stood out to us was recommendation number 6. It called for providing childhood trauma awareness training to businesses, nonprofits, and community organizations. That's really what we need. We have strong, viable, naturally occurring social networks in our city that provide service, that provide need and sustenance to our communities and the people therein. They are resources that are our most valuable resources, and we need to empower them. As a result, I was sitting around during Mardi Gras, February 2020. In between the festivities and revelations, I thought, wait a minute, we can do something here. We can party with a purpose. We can celebrate and empower our neighborhoods in a way that we didn't thought possible. And I called these folks standing behind me today and said, would you come and meet with me? Now, any New Orleanian that you know during Mardi Gras, asking them to come and meet with you is a big ask. So I appreciate them making the time to hear me out, and I appreciate them devoting their time and resources to bring this award that we were granted on the 1st of October 2020 to bring in $432,000 to $435,000 worth of support to support our children in this community. Our project is entitled Training Community Leadership of Naturally Occurring Social Networks to Improve Access of Children Suffering from Trauma to Mental Health Services. We are stepping up and stepping forward to provide what our children need to be blossoming into beautiful, vibrant, healthy, and contributing adults. So now I'll turn the podium over to my fellow clinical scholars who will tell you a little bit more about themselves. And it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. Lauren Tieferbaum. Dr. Tieferbaum.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. Lauren Tieferbaum, Assistant Professor of Psychiatry and Pediatrics at Tulane University of Medicine. I'll be serving as the Clinical Director of the team, Empower NOLA. In this capacity, I will handle the identification of best practices, identification and engagement of professional support and instruction, verification of clinical standards, and certification of training completion. Now you're probably wondering, what is a naturally occurring social network? I'll tell you. There are social aid and pleasure clubs, carnival crews, Mardi Gras Indians and the like, the culture bearers of our city. In addition to being a credentialed healthcare professional, and all of our group as professionals that understand the mental health of children, we too have membership and active participation with these organizations. Strong and cohesive, naturally occurring social networks that have decades of history in the various communities of Orleans Parish serve a strong healing purpose for people historically disenfranchised from traditional mental health and social supports. Getting the evidence-based clinical resources of the formal support structures paired with culturally competent access for the affected community has been historically challenging. The theory of change that we hope to implement is that a larger percentage of children living with profound trauma will be able to access services through bridging two needs: increasing the cultural competence of our fragmented mental health treatment network, and empowering communities to more effectively access resources to support our children. I'll now introduce Dr. Arnold James.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, I'm Dr. Arnold James. I'm currently a psychologist with the Southeastern Louisiana Veterans Healthcare Center. You might know it as the Veterans Hospital. And I also operate a small private practice. My role in this important program is to provide, to identify and provide interfacing with our naturally occurring social networks. One of the things we will be doing is to identify a point of contact, and I will serve primarily as a liaison to help serve as develop focus groups and to formulate retreats for the people that we will recruit from these social networks. The anticipated outcomes of the Team NOLA New Orleans project are as follows. Positive change in the mental health status of traumatized children as a result of trauma-informed education and formal trainings. We will also increase engagement between representatives of naturally occurring social networks and affiliated schools on behalf of children's behavioral health needs. We will look at changes in referral action. One of the things we will be looking for is less of a focus on disciplinary action and looking at improving children's behavioral health underpinnings. Looking at children are not necessarily bad, they can also they be sad, and to deal with those emotional needs. One of the other things we will be looking at is changing behavioral health seeking and care behaviors of occurring social networks in order that they are able to identify children that they may come in contact with in partnership with the schools in their communities. Next, you'll hear from Ms. Rhonda Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rhonda Jackson, and many of you know me as director of Louisiana No Kid Hungry campaign with Share Our Strength, where I work to make sure kids have meals wherever they live, learn, and play. With this project, I will serve as a school liaison for Team Empower NOLA and will assist with the identification of school medical professionals and be their primary liaison. I will also work with be their primary focus group organizer and retreat planner. Because this project is directly consistent with the initiative recommended by the report called Call to Care, Promoting Compassionate Healing for Our Children, the outcomes of this project can be folded directly into larger and more comprehensive plan to improve mental health of our children. This project can also be a strong point of attachment for formal research areas led by area hospitals and universities. And this project could be critical in enacting medical initiatives throughout the state of Louisiana. Finally, this project is coming from a place of love. Love for our city, love for our community, and love for our children. The city of New Orleans is like no other. No other city's community holistically embodies its culture on a daily basis. This project is to preserve the culture, and to do that, we must preserve our children. Now I will introduce you to Councilman Florence.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Critical part of fostering a healthy New Orleans is making sure that our next 300 years are better than our first 300 years. And the best involves treating the trauma of our kids and families in a way that we never have. Throughout my time on the council, when I shared that dais with our now mayor, our decisions were informed by the scientific research of experts, some of them up here today, and they've impressed upon us time and time again that our children are being traumatized and re-traumatized, and sometimes being raised by parents who are suffering with that same trauma. And they have not received the proper attention or the intervention services that are necessary to bring people out of those places of trauma. So it's incumbent upon us all to do everything we can to ensure that innocent children do not fall through the cracks, and we must put our money where our mouth is. As the mayor says, we need to walk the walk and talk the talk and get it done. Mayor, I want to thank you. We look around this country, and there have not been any other mayors in any other city, and no other mayor in this city that has had a singular focus on families and children. And that was intentional. That was something you did on the council, and that is something that you have maintained. And believe me when I say it, that investment is going to yield dividends. That's not something we get to cut ribbon on during a mayoral tenure, but it is something that is going to make this city better than it ever has been. So, you know, when we authored the legislation tasking experts to be trauma informed and looking at that what was going on with our toddlers and infants, and looking at what roadmap we needed and where we needed to be investing, it's just excited to be at this point now, where the rubber is meeting the road, where we have these professionals who are going to really infuse those resources where they need to be to build a stronger New Orleans. So I want to congratulate the entire Empower NOLA team. Thank you, Mayor, again, CYPB, and all of those who have really dedicated their lives to this work before the city was dedicating money to this work. So last but not least, I just want to thank the members of the City Council and really the folks that don't get elected, that do this work day in and day out and never get the credit. Our children will be better for it, and our city will be better for it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman?
So I would be remiss if I did not thank the people behind the people. We are the Robert Wood Johnson Clinical Scholars, but we're supported by a team. Dr. Sunita Singh is a brilliant clinical epidemiologist who helped us fashion our application and make it competitive. Mr. Mark DeVos was our financial officer that told me it's not his job to be nice, it's his job to be mean and make sure we turn in our paperwork. I want to thank Anissa Parks, who is the curated misfit that loves staying behind the scenes, but I'm going to demand that she take a headshot and get in front of the scenes at some point. And Bambi Hall, who is our communications officer, that really is helping us not just do good work, but tell that story so people know what's happening. And again, on behalf of the Empower NOLA team, thank you, Robert Wood Johnson. Thank you, Mayor Cantrell. Thank you, City Council of New Orleans, for helping us empower our communities to help our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Latanya, any questions for,
Anyone? The advocate?
Hi, I'm Emily Woodruff, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little more about the evidence this is based on, if this has been done in any other cities, what kind of practices will be done in these trainings, some examples or specifics.
Sure. So this research is based on a study that was completed by Institute of Women and Ethnic Study. It's cited in the task force findings that the City and Youth Planning Board put out. And that is the exciting thing about this project, is that there has not been something that's done like this, quite like this, where we're using our naturally occurring social networks, like our social aid and pleasure clubs, and connecting them with the school resources and the school personnel that have professional training to get them the help that they need.
Other questions? Channel 4.
Another topic
Oh.
question. Go
Any
ahead.
questions pertaining to this?
all right, well, thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I won't subject you.